Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And I have been doing a whole heap of stitching, and I've also just recently, in the last couple of days, received some haul from the Downton Abbey Stitching Retreat, where I won a $10 gift voucher for winning one of the stitching challenges that we had. And I am I'm still feeling like I need to pinch myself for some of the things that I ended up purchasing, because I had been umming and ahhing about purchasing it or not, and I'm excited that I have it now part of my collection. So let's get into what I've been working on and the haul and all the fun that is part of cross stitching and such. So because I have the haul right next to me and I keep eyeing it off, I'm going to jump into that first. So to help put into context, as I mentioned, $10 gift voucher, I purchased these things from 123 Stitch, and I think it's been worth the wait, and especially with this first one. So this is my first Bella Filipina. I had been umming and ahhing about purchasing this because I've seen other people working on similar patterns over the years. They are beautiful charts, and I had been umming and ahhing about whether to purchase a Bella Filipina, because partly because of the cost of the chart. This is probably one of the most expensive ones I've purchased to date, and also knowing that these charts have got a lot of beads in it, and it's going to be worth it though. Now, with this type of chart, it can't travel on its own. So I also wanted to purchase the recommended fabric to go with it. So I've also purchased the half yard 28 count Mirage Cassia linen fabric. And so it's this fabric that I've purchased to go with the Bella Filipina, which is the La Catrina. And I've then also been umming and eyeing off some of the ink circle charts, and I've purchased um, the assembly required, and I'm looking forward to getting into this one because I have been slowly rewatching the TV series Bone, so I think this is going to be the perfect chart for me to stitch while I am watching the show. And I'm also I ended up deciding, and I'm ignoring, but I ended up purchasing the next chart called Ink Circles, and it's Cirque de Circles. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but let's run with that. So I have seen a few different people working on this over the years, and I know that it's going to be a beast to stitch, but I think it's going to be well worth it. And at the moment, I have two different skeins, but very similar shades of threads that could work really well for that if I want to be true to the I guess true to the cover page, so to speak, or how it's been stitched. I'm also looking at the back here, and it is saying that I'll need at least 8 skeins of thread. So let's see if I end up going with the recommended threads and such that are used with this. So I don't know. I'm umming and ahhing. I'm in the mood at the moment for using some of what I've got in my stash, and I've got a lot of specialty threads that I've received over the years through different stitching boxes, through the Gilmore Girls stitching retreats, and more recently the 2 Downton Abbey stitching retreats, and it has been especially through one of the Downton Abbey stitching boxes and one of the Gilmore Girls boxes where there's these 2 threads. One I can remember being called someone's Jake Blumenfeld. There's a character where Lane runs her hand through his hair. That character's name I'm trying to remember. So that dude's hair and the other thread that I can't remember, but they're really similar tones. They've got these autumnal tones, they're variegated, and since I need like 8 skeins or nearly 9 skeins of thread for this project, I'm starting to wonder if I can do something similar to some of the long dogs that I'm seeing people stitch, where especially crafting Emily, she's doing this really beautiful variegation using solid colors and working through it that way. So I'm considering something like that, but I want to do the pattern justice as well. I have also started a new design of my own using some variegated threads from the Cottage Garden Threads Chaos pack that they did a good 6 months ago, perhaps longer now, 6 to 8 months ago, and they've still got their Chaos pack up for sale on their website, and they don't have the full range for what I'd purchased a few months ago, last year at least. But I am starting to use threads in that pack, and I'm really enjoying how that's coming together. And I know I'm being super vague at the moment. What I am saying though is it's stitching up super quick, and I'm looking forward to being able to share that with you all, hopefully in a few weeks' time. So, considering filming release dates and all the jazz, then by the time we next catch up, so in about 4 weeks' time, I'll be able to share with you that finished result and give you all the details with it. So watch the space as far as that's concerned. Now, the other really cool thing is that with these 2 ink circles patterns, they are now 3. I'm starting to collect ink circle patterns because probably the first time I'd won a gift voucher from 123 Stitch, I had bought the ink circles strawberry square, and then the fabric that we see in this big packaging as well is fabric that I purchased from the JK Stitching Retreat. Now there's heaps and heaps of fabric or yardage for this fabric, so I'm going to have a lot of fun figuring out what else to stitch with it. But the cool thing is that it's 32 count, and I am thinking of stitching this fabric or stitching this pattern with two tones. So one is the Cottage Garden Threads Foxgloves, and then the other one is Gast, the Gentle Art Threads Slate. So I think that should come up pretty nicely. Don't know when I'm going to start these. I know that I had plans thinking, oh yes, I'll start it when I want to start all the things. Now, I had also thought that in terms of fabric for, that's right, for the ink circles bones, that I could also use some of this fabric. So, tons and tons of fabric, but I'm also questioning as to whether I should, because I have this fabric which is just a 28 count linen. It doesn't really have any specific wording for the color or anything like that, but I do have it matched with this particular project, which is Old City, which is X squared cross stitch design. So many choices, so many options, most of which I'll probably forget, then rediscover it and have the same conundrum all over again. So we'll wait and see. Now, that's pretty much it in terms of haul. So let's get into the stitching. Okay, so with the stitching, I'm going to be sharing with you my progress on projects that I've worked on for the AFL Stitching Challenge, as well as some of the projects that I had worked on during the stitching retreat and how they matched some of the prompts that we were given, and then had 60 minutes to then put as many stitches into said piece. And I've been impressed with myself in terms of improving on what I thought was my hourly stitching rate, and I'm chuffed with the progress I've made in some of these pieces. Now, just underneath the camera, I do have notes written up, so I will be looking down a bit every so often just to refresh my memory as to how many stitches I put into those projects. So the first piece that I have to share with you is the Stephen King house by the Witchy Stitcher. And just for memory's sake, this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. And I have done some stitch with me, so you'll have seen some of the progress that I had made with that. And in terms of the Stephen King house, I am stitching this on fabric that has been hand dyed by Paddock Lane Designs. It's called Royal Princess. It's an opalescent 32 count even weave, and this is what I'm up to. Now, I had put how many stitches? Over the space of 2 stitching challenges, I put 345 stitches into it. And I'm happy with how this is coming along. I'm using all of the recommended floss, so it's all DMC thread, stitching this 2/2. Okay, now the next piece that I have to share with you again was part of the stitching retreat, and it is called Halloween Treats 2. And bear with me for a moment while I get the cover page. Thanks for that. So it is Tilton Crafts Halloween Treats 2. This particular project I'd worked on just for one challenge, and I was able to put in 162 stitches over the space of 60 minutes. And I was mostly focusing on just the DMC 310. So it's part of why I've got this long thread hanging down, and this is where I'm up to. And I'm stitching this 1/1 on what I believe to be 25 count even weave. I'm not sure exactly which type it is, whether it's Jobelan or anything to that effect, but I'm happy with how it's coming along. It will definitely come up again for stitching in October when I get to spooky season. And if it's not October, it would most definitely be September. So this is pretty cool. I did start this in the center of the chart because for anyone who has worked on a Tilton Crafts project, you'll know what I mean, where pretty much even the grey that you see in the corners there, that's part of the chart. And I want to get to the fun stuff, and I won't be stitching the white and grey that you see around the actual chart or fun stuff. So that's how things have worked for that piece. Now, the next one that I have to share with you, I did actually work on for a few challenges in a stitching retreat, but this next piece is also part of the AFL stitching challenge. And to help put into context, for anyone who is semi-new to this channel, on the Hot Cross Stitching website, details for the website are in the description box, what have you. On that particular website, there's a section for challenges, and in that particular section, there's the AFL Stitching Challenge. And even though some of it says the year 2023, it is still pretty well, nothing's changed. In terms of the way that I'm approaching this challenge, I know that I have wanted to change things up a little bit, get some progress on some other projects, and they will come into effect later on in the year. But for muchness with the next piece, it's Fight Like a Girl. It is based on artwork by Elena Zhnetkova, and it has been designed by Tanya Amity. So this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. You can probably see a bit of it just to the side of me here. And with Float Like a Girl, I've actually surprised myself in terms of how much stitching I've put into it over the last few weeks. So in total, I have put 654 stitches into it since we last caught up. And it has been spanned over three rounds of the AFL, which has been rounds 7, 8, and 9. We're currently in the middle of round 10, and I did think. Sorry, I'm just double checking my notes, and I had thought that, oh, that's right. I thought I was going to work on this piece for some of the challenges in the stitching retreat, but I ended up changing my mind and worked on some other things. So my absolute apologies on that. So with this particular piece, I have it associated with two teams, the Brisbane Lions and the Melbourne Demons. And that is a bit to do with team colours for Melbourne Demons. And then Brisbane Lions has Aslan in it. Aslan the lion from the Witch, the Wardrobe, the Witch and the Lion? The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. That's it. It's been a long time since I've read that book, but I do remember the books and the movie and all the rest from when I was in primary school. So, yeah, it's coming along pretty cool. It is definitely going to be a long time before I get that one finished. And to help also put into context for how much I have done, um, is I'm at 33.45% for Fight Like a Girl. It has a total of 73,278 stitches. And so far, I have put in 24,509. So it's still got a bit of way to go. I initially was doing the back stitch as I went, and it just wasn't working for me. And I'm going to have to go back and fix up some of the back stitch. So yeah, it's just not going to be a fast project, unfortunately. But the next piece that I have to share with you, and I do have the cover page on the floor behind me, so bear with me and I'll just go grab it. So the Dimensions Gold Collection, Four Seasons Kittens. We're getting so much closer to getting this piece finished, a lot more than I thought I would as far as progress is concerned for this year, and we're only in May. The annoying thing is that this is a physical chart. I don't have stats in terms of stitches, completion, all the jazz. But with Four Seasons Kittens, I have this predominantly connected to just one AFL team, which is the Geelong Cats. But I also put some extra stitches into it for the Richmond Tigers, because they actually won a game, which is hugely shocking because they are one of the longest standing teams in the competition, and the competition has been going for well over 100 years. But point is, Richmond won a game, and their first game they won was in round 8. So I didn't actually have a project officially connected to the team. So I thought, well, tigers are a type of cat. They're a big cat, so why not? So I have mostly been working on where we're starting to see the tail of the second cat, and also we can start to see a bit of the face of the second cat sitting in the basket. A lot of the foliage around the cat with the brownish tail has been stitched, and I am partway through putting in 117 stitches into this one because it rather cats, the Geelong Cats, they won their game on Thursday night, and I hadn't actually been expecting them to win that game. So the Cats scored their total score, or winning score, was 117 points. So that's converted to 117 stitches at least that I'll be putting into this piece. And I'm just looking at my notes just to see if there's anything extra. So, yes, aside from needing to put 117 stitches into this piece, I'm also needing to, I have put in at least 356 stitches since we last caught up because of the Richmond Tigers and Geelong Cats winning their games. So it could end up being a finish for this year if I keep making the progress that I've made so far. Who knows? Okay, so the next piece that I have to share with you, I'm just looking around to see if I have the cover page, and I don't. It could be hiding. No, it is hiding. So Patient Stitcher is the next one that I've put some work into. So there we are. So Patient Stitcher has been designed by Tempting Tangles Designs, and it is a piece that I had purchased, or pattern rather, that I had purchased from the JK Stitching Retreat a couple of years ago now. And I also had purchased some of the threads from there as well. So some of them are dinky dye threads. There's, I think, some classic color works as well. So it's coming along beautifully. And this is where I'm up to. So I'm stitching this on a Paddock Lane Designs fabric. It's an 18 count, and it's actually coming on really nicely. The really cool thing as well is that this is as wide as it's going to be. Then plus however much for framing and all the jazz. So I've been putting most of my work and time into where we see the yellow and the start of the word stitch. Now, the really cool thing with this piece and what attracted me to it was that the saying, the phrase of stitching doesn't take patience, it teaches patience. And this is something where I need to try and show that phrasing to people who say that they don't have the patience to do stitching, and that I then also wonder what people's expectations are when they sit down to initially try cross stitching, and wondering if they're expecting to have a piece finished within one sitting, or I need to sit down and double check with some of the people who have said that to me over the years, because I'm wondering if they have had the expectation that they'll be perfect at it straight away, and that they'll have the same level or capacity or way of stitching as myself or anyone else they know. It's just a curiosity on that one. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. So with Patient Stitcher, I have put at least 251 stitches in it because I have this associated. Where are we? So 251 stitches have been put in around the yellow and the blue for the stitching, the word stitch rather. And I have this associated with the St. Kilda Saints because patience is a virtue, and saints, religion, all the wording that can be connected with that. So that is the fun days connected with that. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is a hot cross stitching design, and it's called Black and White Rolled Up Daisy, one that I've been working on intermittently for quite a while now. And let's get this cover page up. This is roughly what it will look like when it's done. I am stitching this on 18 count black Aida. I was doing full cross for all of it, then for the background, transitioning into 10 stitch, and from a distance, this looks good. The background, I'm thinking will get frogged, but I probably won't be bothered to do it, so it is what it is. Now, with black and white rolled up daisy, I have put in at least 306 stitches into it. I still need to put 98 into it because in round 9, the Adelaide Crows won their game and they are playing today, so I need to figure out if they actually won their game or not. I'm going to need to figure that out. And if I can find the mouse, here we are. I really need to figure out if they actually won their game or not. Okay, so I have looked things up on the internet, and the Adelaide Crows most definitely won their game. That was going to be an easy win. They were playing against North Melbourne. North Melbourne are doing a lot better this year than they have in recent years. So Adelaide Crows' winning score was 133 points, and it means that I need to put in, hang on, my math is not mathing today, so I need a calculator, and I need to put in at least 231 stitches into black and white rolled up daisy. With all of that said and done, I feel like I've got that motivation now to actually put those stitches in, because for a while there I'd been contemplating putting those stitches into pelicans, which we're going to see super soon. But knowing that I've got 231 that I need to put into black and white rolled up daisy, I know I'm going to see a difference from that, and you'll hopefully see that difference as well, or that improvement, that change. So that's going to be super good. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is one that I worked on for the stitching retreat a little bit, and I worked on it just as part of the AFL stitching challenge. And that one is a stitch in time. It's the mini version of it, and I'm just working on getting the cover page. So that said, with a stitch in time, if you're a regular here, you'll know that other people are stitching it as well. And it is based on the artwork by Amy Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is just roughly what it's going to look like. It is a very small picture. However, with a stitch in time, I've put in at least 374 stitches as part of the stitching retreat, because it fitted in with 3 different challenges, and this is where I'm up to so far. And I've worked on it at least twice for 2 wins that the GWS Giants did. So they won 2 of their games, which meant that I put in 208 stitches for those 2 wins. So ultimately we've put in about 580 something stitches, and it's slowly coming together. I would love to see more progress on this, because I have loved seeing everyone else's progress on it. Also noting that I can get this around the right way. Now, with a stitch in time, it has 75,400 stitches. At the moment, based on the progress I've made, I'm only at 15.25%, and I've only put in 11,502. Now, remembering that with Dewdrop Daisy, which was that really beautiful orange flower that I'd entered it into the Canberra Royal Show a couple of years ago, it had about 65,000 stitches in it. And when I put my mind to it, I was able to get that done in a couple of years' time, but also remembering that it didn't have as much confetti in it compared to a stitch in time. So I need to remember that. Plus, I want to stitch all the things. I'm being hard on myself with this. So the fact that I've put over 500 stitches into a stitching time over the space of 3 weeks. Okay, not as good as what it could be, but over 500 stitches is nothing to be sneezed at. It's all good. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is a new-ish start. Newish in the sense that it was a restart. I only started it for a challenge for the Downton Abbey Stitching Retreat, and I'm pressing buttons trying to get things sorted so I can share with you the cover page. Now, the cover page is called Australia Sampler. It has been designed by What Will You Create, which is on Etsy. And I had purchased this initially with the intention of working on it during the month of January when Australia celebrates Australia Day, and I want to stitch all things Australian. Now, I did this restart on a Paddock Lane Designs fabric called Eucalypt Forest it's a 36 count linen, and this is the little start that I did. I put in, what did I do? 175 stitches in the space of 60 minutes to fit the prompt of song lyrics. So, to put things into context, some of the phrases that we see here, like the land down under, that is a Men at Work song. And if anyone is familiar with the Aussie song Kookaburra Sits in the Old Gum Tree, then it's a very similar, same tune. Then Great Southern Land is a song by Icehouse, and it's an awesome ballad. Not a ballad, power song. Then Our Island Home is also a song, or rephrase, My Island Home is a song performed by the Indigenous performer Christine Anu. Awesome song, and it is one that gives me goosebumps every time I hear that song performed. It is a wonderful song. So this again is just my measly restart for Australia Sampler, and I don't know if I'm going to finish this. I don't know what the go is. I think I'll keep it on this fabric. I'm glad that I restarted it, because when I was initially stitching it, I had started it on some fabric that I'd purchased from Amazon, I believe, because I was just curious about the quality of the fabric and that. Not impressed with the fabric that I had purchased from Amazon, so I will find a creative way of reusing it. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is one that actually got a lot of work on it, and I just need to get myself a bit more organized, and I'll be back super soon. Okay, so as part of the Downton Abbey Stitching Retreat in April, the awesome thing was that I purchased the digital chart for part 2 of the pattern, and this is part 2 of I Am a Custodian, and I started at the bottom of this particular piece, and I'm super happy with how this is coming along. And the extra cool thing is that for all of the challenges, or some of the challenges, we were allowed to use part 2 of the pattern chart for meeting the prompts and all the rest. And this is where I was able to use I Am a Custodian part 2 for about seven challenge prompts, and I was able to get over 700 and oh no, I was able to get 772 stitches put into it over the space of about 2 to 3 days. And I've also put an extra 305 stitches into this to do with the AFL Stitching Challenge, because I have this associated with the team called the Fremantle Dockers. Because with the Fremantle Dockers, their team colours are purple, green, and white. So I'm just trying to remember what their colours are. For me, they're predominantly purple, with the jerseys and such that they wear, or the uniform. So as you can see, I have started at the bottom and then stitched some of the border up on the side. So at the bottom, we have the kitchen, where we will eventually see Mrs. Patmore and Daisy. So I'll bring up this chart, so you can have a bit more context. So we'll see the kitchen. We'll also have the car and the character who was the chauffeur to begin with. Then he married one of the daughters. I've had an absolute mental blank on his name. Then in the doorway of, I guess, the doorway, we've got Bates, Mr. Bates, and the lady who ends up becoming his wife. I've had a mental blank on her name as well. So that's pretty much where I've started stitching for that, because what I want to do is eventually up the top, where we have the family sitting at the table up top, where we see also a bit of the wallpaper, where it's got the different colors for the reds, the different shapes. What I want to do, especially for what looks like those individual single crosses, I want to put beads there instead. I think that could look quite interesting, because I wanted to do beads for the single stitches we see for the stars sitting above the castle, but I didn't quite have the right shade of yellow for that, so it didn't quite work out the way I wanted for that. But I know that it will work. I think it will work pretty good for the upper half. What I need to be careful of, though, is where, with the pattern that we see at the moment, where we see the beautiful earrings and the necklaces and such at the moment, those sides are eventually going to be filled with part 3 of the chart that will eventually get released, say this time next year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of that, and seeing how it all works out. And I probably could get away with getting the beads done now, or in the lead up to that event, and just make sure I've got a big hoop, so that way I don't have to worry about the beads getting mucked up. But again, that is going to be a future me problem, not a today me problem. So just once again, this is the work of over 1,000 stitches over a few days, let alone about 3 weeks. And I am also stitching this on a 32 count Paddock Lane Designs fabric. It doesn't have any specific names or anything with it, because it was a misdye, but I'm happy knowing that I've got tons of fabric, that it is fitting all beautifully. I'm stitching it 2/2. Okay, so the next piece that I have to share with you is I worked on as part of the stitching retreat, and it is called The Reader. It is based on artwork by Lisa Parker, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I'm just trying to find the cover page. Here we are. Okay, so the reason why I worked on this piece for the challenge was because the prompt was to stitch something with a heart in it. And initially I was going to work on a stitch in time, because it does have a heart in it, but it was super unclear. So this one's heaps more obvious. And with this particular piece, I was able to get 129 stitches in it over the space of 60 minutes. And it's slowly coming together. I am stitching this 1/1. This is on, I think it's 28 or 25 count easy grid fabric, and these squares rather are 20 by 20 compared to the 10 by 10 that we typically see. And what else can I say? not much more really. Okay, now I feels like I'm flying through this a bit, partly because my time's going to run out. Hang on. Sorry about all of that. Thank you so much for your patience with it. So I felt like I was needing to speed things up a bit and rush through what I was sharing with you, because with the program that I use for recording, I've only got like a 30-minute window, and I keep needing to go into the settings to see if I can change that. And on one hand, it would be good to know if I can, but on the other hand, it's nice knowing that I've got a set time frame that I need to try and get my words in, and it enables me to increase my ability to be concise. Sadly, that doesn't always happen. Let's get back to the stitching though. So the next piece that I have to share with you is Country Threads design called Pelicans. It is part of a dual design, or dual pack rather, where it also comes with the chart called fishing trawlers. I am eventually going to stitch fishing trawlers as well, because my eventual aim is to make another quilt. It is going to be in years to come before the actual assembly of the quilt and such comes to be. But with the stitching that I want to do, or the quilt rather that I want to make, is going to be a nautical theme in terms of, or sea theme, fishing trawlers, a lighthouse type of thing, the pelicans, and having almost like a bit of a beachy kind of theme to it as well. So the good thing is I've got plenty of time to fully figure out how big it's going to be, what's going to be involved, and all the rest. But I know that I want to incorporate patterns and projects that have meaning to it, that are special to Michael and I, because uh, for long-time viewers, we spent 3 years living up in Wollongong, moved back in October 2025, and even well before then, we've always enjoyed spending our time down at the south coast in New South Wales, Australia, specifically the Batemans Bay, Malula Bay area. And for us, it's our second home. I've done some recordings, Flosstubes, over the years from the Malula Bay area, and that's why I'm wanting to stitch projects that I, in my mind, link to those areas. And I know that I've got photos that I've taken over the years that I could eventually chart and stitch, but that in itself would take decades to get me to finish. So yeah, we'll wait and see how all of that goes. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. The point though is, with Pelicans, it is connected to the AFL Stitching Challenge, the Sydney Swans, and I have put a minimum of 362 stitches into this over 3 rounds, so rounds 7, 8, and 9. And I worked predominantly on the jetty that the pelican is standing on. I've put a lot more stitches into Mr. Pelican's back. I've also put work into some of the posts that are starting to form on the edge of the pattern or chart, especially this fabric. Now, this is wide, at least over this side here. This is as wide it's going to be for this side of the fabric. I'm stitching this 2/1 on 14 count Ada. Now, the really cool thing is that the Sydney Swans played last night, and it was a really close game. They were playing, it was a home game, and they were playing against the Collingwood Magpies. This is going to be another short story, AFL based. So what I love about the win that the Swans had last night was that it was against Collingwood. Now, for anyone in Australia who follows the AFL, if you support a team that is not from Melbourne or Adelaide, but especially if you support a team that's not from Melbourne, you'll know that the commentators will most likely barrack for the Melbourne team. And the thing that frustrates Michael and I, especially with Collingwood, is that 99% of the time the commentators are going to be barracking for Collingwood and be cheering and celebrating and getting all excited whenever a player from Collingwood has got the ball and they look like they're about to kick a goal, or line up for a money shot at the goals. So the fact that the Swans came from behind, they played poorly in the first quarter and slowly built up and were able to win the game by about 6 points. So they won by a goal. It was pretty close. Collingwood are a good team, and they, in recent years, won the flag, I think about three years in a row, very close to that. So the fact that Swans were able to stick it to the Collingwood fans and stick it to the commentators especially, that was really good. I'm disappointed that I didn't watch all of the game live. I went to bed at halftime. I was feeling a bit tired, so I was able to look up the final score this morning, and I had also watched the highlights reel, so to speak, or the mini match earlier today. So it was really good to see them do the win, or get the win. It was good. I'm happy. I really am. So that means I need to put in, I think it's another 81 stitches into Pelicans because of the Swans win last night, and it'll be good. I'm looking forward to getting that piece finished. It'll most likely be finished for next year, just based on all the other projects that I'm wanting to work on. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is called Trio of Dogs, and it is a Luca S kit that I've had in my stash for a while. And this was a piece that my boyfriend picked out for me to stitch because I think I'd finished another dog project and I needed another one to work on. And he said, I gave him a few options and he picked that. So with all of that in mind, I have put a minimum of 78 stitches into this over the last 3 weeks, which I am surprised by because I was expecting to put a lot more into it. So this is where I'm at. I have this piece associated with the AFL team, the Western Bulldogs, and surprisingly, they didn't win as many of their games over the last 3 rounds as what I thought they would. They only won 1 out of 3. So it's okay. I'll get there. It's almost as wide as it's going to be. I think I've still got a little bit more over the side that I've got to do to make it the full width. But I do have as much of a page finish as I can get for the moment. It's coming along really well, and I love that I can start to see the Golden Lab taking shape. And let's see, what's the next one that I'm up to? Zebras. Cool. So with zebras, I am very much on track for getting a finish for this. It is a Design Works kit that I've had in my stash for ages, and I've put in at least 172 stitches into this. I need to put some more into it because the Suns won their game last night. I need to double check what their score is. Not a big deal at the moment. But actually, the cool thing is, now let's get this up. I think I've pretty well, I finished majority of the blue stitching for zebras. And to put into context, let's get this around the right way. Here we are. So I'm getting close to putting in some of the green stitches for the body of the zebra with the purples and blues and greens and such. And then I'll be able to get some work into zebra that's at the moment just the oranges and yellows and such. It is coming along super well. This is cool. This is a cute project. I love it. Now, I know that even though with the Suns, with their win, I think it was under 100 points that their final score was. And let's see if I can find out what that was. Yeah, so with the Gold Coast, with their final winning score, it was only 98 points. 98 points was still okay, but because it means it would be 98 stitches, I'm probably going to get in the zone and smash out a lot more stitches than that. And it is a physical chart, so I won't have all of the stats and details and such. It will be good to get that done, and it'll be cool. So the next piece that I have to share with you is a hot cross stitching design. You might be able to see it to the side of me already. And it's called, I've got it nicknamed Spanish Proverb, but it's actually connected with a quote from the movie Strictly Ballroom. And it is called A Life Lived in Fear. But the full wording is a life lived in fear. A life lived in fear is a life half lived. Whenever I start working on this, I love working on it because partly because it's 18 count Ada, it makes it super easy to work on. This is where I'm up to. It's a lot of fabric, but I think I'm gonna I think I'm gonna need it. I don't know the exact color of the fabric. I don't know if it actually had a particular name, but yeah, it's all coming along. So with this piece, I have it associated with the Hawthorn Hawks, and they won one game and then they tied a second game. So that makes so it's 112 plus 93. And I have also I put a minimum of 205 stitches into it. Go me and my maths and notes. I thought that I'll put more than that into it, but 205 is still good, still okay. Okay, now the the last piece that I have to share with you is called Carousels. It is a piece that I want to enter into the Canberra Oil Show for 2027. It is going to be the year that Canberra celebrates 100 years of the Canberra Oil Show. And what I love with this piece is that I've got renewed energy and drive to get this finished, because a bit over a month, or about a month ago, earlier in May, I had caught up with some of my stitching friends, and I'm just trying to find some details. Okay, so with carousels, initially I thought that I'd do the full width of the picture that you've seen up on the screen. But then when I was talking with some stitching friends, Linda suggested that I could probably still do a bit of what I had initially planned by having not only carousels, but also some of Grandma's pantry, and then some of the animals and such. So the idea is that I'll still stitch like the Ferris wheel, but then I could also stitch the tin can or the metal bucket, with the lambs, and then some of the baby chicks that we see at the bottom. And then I could also somewhere on the fabric, and I'll need to figure this out. I could somewhere on the fabric, whether it be at the bottom or on the side or somewhere, I could stitch some of the baskets and such that we see. Then somewhere along the lines, stitch a shelf that has some of the preserves and such. So there's still hope. There's still hope, but I really need to get into the groove of getting into all that stitching, because it still works out to being a fair amount of stitching. But let's show the progress, then we'll get into the stats. So this is what I'm up to with carousels. And let's get this folded up just a bit more for you. So with carousels, I am stitching this on a 28 count Zweigert fabric where one side of it is printed and the other side is just a plain white. I am stitching this 1/1 using the DMC threads that are called for or designed with, whichever the phrasing we want to say. And let's see if I can get this right. So this is where I'm up to, and it is looking quite washed out and just fairly grey and seems quite bland at the moment, but it's a lot to do with my lighting at the moment. So it's coming along nicely though. It is going well. There is a lot of confetti in this, and I'm looking forward to trying out the suggestions and thoughts that I worked on with my stitching friends. So again, it's a case of watch this space and let's see how we go. What I had also done with carousels, and I'm not sure if I'd mentioned it last time we caught up, I have marked off on the actual chart a lot of the stitching for 3865, which is a lot of the white, because I didn't want to, or had no intention of wanting to stitch that, because I really wanted to just make the most of the fabric. And I'm just trying to bring this up here. Okay, so to date, this I've in theory put in 20,626 stitches, and I'm at 29.68%. Noting that those stats are off because I've already marked off on the chart a lot of the 3865 because I just wasn't going to stitch it. So with those stats, I feel like we can take it with a grain of salt. So that is pretty much it stitching wise. And I just want to say thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me. This has been a longer episode than normal because there's just been so much to catch up on, and I've been able to share with you some haul and my thoughts around how all of that's potentially going to work. In terms of life update, there's not really much to say. It's been nice, quiet, nothing eventful. I think the most eventful thing was doing the AFL stitching challenge is eventful to an extent, but it's been more the Downton Abbey stitching retreat. That was one event. Coming up in June, I've got the stitching retreat in Adelaide. So it'll be around the 12th, 13th, 14th, roughly around those dates in June that I'll be flying down from Canberra to Adelaide, staying there for a few days, then flying back up. So that will be really nice to have that breakaway. Who knows what kind of goodies I'll come back with on that. I've mentioned that I have started a new chart, stitching a new pattern that I designed in a really short space of time. It's inspired by some fabric stuff in my home. I'll be able to give some more details on it when I'm finished. Other than that, I hope to see you all in a couple of weeks' time. And until then, please like, subscribe, comment if you like, and I will see you very soon. Happy stitching, everyone.